Hello and welcome back to NJCDC's The Loft. Today, we welcome Elianny Polanco. And how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Danny. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a kind of a rainy Monday today as we record this episode, but we're here nonetheless. The show must go on. And I'm excited to have you on here today. Can you kind of give a little background on yourself to our watchers, our listeners?
As Danny said, I am Elianny Polanco. I am a senior at John F. Kennedy High School, and I am also a dual enrollment student at Passaic County Community College.
There you go. All right. Now, you left out some parts there about your bio. You're graduating from high school this year, right? For this very, very soon, or has already happened by this point. And you got valedictorian. You're valedictorian of your class.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, no big deal, guys. She's
No.
just valedictorian or something. I don't know. And you also have your associate's degree off the rip before you even got your high school diploma, which is wild, right? Can you kind of explain or tell us how that came to be and how you got into that dual enrollment program?
Yeah. So sophomore year, my counselor just kind of came up to me during my lunch period, and she was like, "I got a program for you." And then she just gave me the application. She was like, "Oh, you need to take testing, pass the test, have good attendance, have good grades, and I think you're good for this program." I just applied for it. I took the test. I got in. And then I didn't even realize what it was actually going to be till it happened. I was like, okay, I'm still going to be in my high school. It's still going to be okay. And then it started, and I just kind of moved to Passaic County Community College and just didn't even go to my high school unless I had testing.
Oh, wow.
And then I just got through the program somehow.
Okay. All right. That's crazy to me to think about, I had friends who went to PCCC after they graduated. They got their associates. They went off to another university. But I've never heard of anyone ever graduating before they graduate high school. They have their associate's degree. That's kind of crazy. So you kind of got a head start to your college journey. But outside of your academics, I know you have a few activities on the outside. I know you've been an NJCDC program participant. Can you kind of explain how you came about finding NJCDC and how you came to participate in their programs?
We used to do full service community schools at John F. Kennedy. And because of that, we had to come to the Great Falls Youth Center to do food drives and community service events. And then eventually, after my first year of high school, during the summer, the president of PYC, he was like, "Oh, I think this program would be really good for you. You should apply for it." And I applied for PYC, and then I had the interviews during the summer.
Patterson Youth Council, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
And I got in. I really liked leadership positions and doing stuff for my community. And I think that's why I really liked the Patterson Youth Council. Then eventually, because of the Patterson Youth Council, I got to get a job at the Patterson Family Center, which is the preschool for NJCDC. And I think that's what helped me connect a lot with NJCDC. Then I started going on trips and doing all these civic engagement events that NJCDC sponsors.
Not limited to the podcast we hosted about civil service here in the studio with Lieutenant Governor Taisha Way.
Yes.
Which was, I think that was your first kind of podcast you've ever participated. This is your second, I believe.
Yes.
Right. It's been a while, but I got you back in here somehow.
Yes.
But that, and I remember when that was coming up when we were planning that interview, and I know everyone was kind of stressed a little bit. Obviously it's a little bit of pressure, but you and your fellow classmates did great. I remember that being a very successful interview. And I was really, really excited for you guys. So that was great. I'm sure just experiencing that part of your journey, that's fantastic. It's a small drop in the ocean of your achievements that you have accumulated this year. And yeah, you've been doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Where are you going now after you graduate?
So I'm going to Ramapo College to pursue my neuroscience degree.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It's a
awesome.
very long career, which is why it's important that I got ahead.
100%. So how long does schooling for that usually take?
It's between 8 to 12 years because you have to do your bachelor's degree, your doctorate degree, and then you have the residency for a couple of years. So it's a while.
So you're gonna be grinding. Your grinding is gonna start soon, very soon. It's gonna be for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good thing you got ahead.
So Danny, I would definitely like to ask you, Well, first of all, how was the college experience for you?
I think for me, my college experience was great. I went to Montclair State University. I graduated with a degree of communications and media arts. My whole field is media editing. I'm like that's my main kind of skill is like video editing, and I was able to learn a lot about the industry, especially since we're so close to New York City. You know, a lot of what that degree and what that particular focus brings you to is a lot of opportunities in New York City, right? So I was able to learn a lot. I was able to meet like-minded people, and if I was to do it again, I definitely, would go the same route.
Were you a dormer or commuter?
I was a commuter. So Montclair State University is like 15 minutes
Yeah.
from where I live, and paying to go like dorm is like as much as tuition. It's basically times two. Take your bill times two. That's literally what it was.
Mhm.
So I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. Let me just, commute. Parking is kind of crazy at Montclair because it is a commuter school. People who do commute have to like wake up really early, get to school as early as possible, or else you're just going to be stuck in traffic trying to park, trying to get to your class. So it's tough. So you have to plan ahead of. You have to look at your schedule that you have for your classes, and you have to really look at like, okay, what time do I really have to wake up realistically? If I'm taking a class, what time I should schedule? I should sign up for a class that takes place at like this time, so like I could get there on time. So there's a lot of planning that gets involved with that with your schedule.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know time management was something I really had to get down in college because, especially when you have all those classes together, you have 3 classes a day, you need to like really plan out everything you're going to do. So I know that you were a commuter. So how was it like balancing like your maybe work life or like your home life with school and extracurriculars and stuff?
So during the time I was in college, I was mainly doing just like freelance video editing work, which I think was for me it was just like a lot of fun. It's just like I get to do fun, creative things. Like I said before, there are definitely like-minded people in college, but when you're like freelancing in this kind of field, you'll find people who you can work really well with. So it wasn't hard to like it wasn't as hard as it could be balancing a schedule. Like, oh man, I need to get doing like this schoolwork. I need to make sure I get this down pat before I try to have a meeting with this person, right? I might have to reschedule or I might have to and thankfully I was surrounded with people that were understanding too. So it was it's a challenge for sure. You
Mhm.
have to kind of prioritize how much time you spend socializing, how much time you spend like doing your work. Or like, okay, it usually takes me this amount of time to get these assignments done. It might have like a period in the beginning where like, all right, I need to figure out how long it takes me to do certain tasks, right? So there might be a period of time in the beginning where you're just kind of just like doing nothing but just grinding out like assignments or just doing schoolwork because you don't really know how much time you have to do the things you need to do, right? So but once you figure out what you need to do, you'll be in that sweet spot where you're like, okay, I know exactly how to kind of set my schedule going forward after this. So that's just paying attention to your own habits, to how long that you need to do what you need to do.
And then I guess the $1 million question that I think all of us kind of are afraid about when we're going to college and we're getting close to the finish line. How was that transition for you between your college career and then going into the workforce?
So during college, I was doing freelance work, right? And it wasn't like keeping me busy all the time. So I still had a lot of free time after I graduated, right? After you graduate, you're like, all right, what now, guys? You know what I mean? Like you're just kind of figuring it out. I was thankful to be offered a position here at NJCDC because I've had like history with the company. I've been through like a bunch of their programs. Since I was in high school, I was involved doing volunteer work. I was able to come into NJCDC with the understanding of what the organization already was, and I was able to fit in or like to find my little spot here pretty quickly, thankfully. But I kind of got lucky. I got lucky doing what I do, right? And I'm sure like when you're going to something like your kind of focus, it's going to be a little bit different, right? Probably a lot different than my experience, right? Because again, like I went to college for 4 years. You're gonna take like twice as much to get where you need to go. Some of it still applies, like the time management stuff, and like when you're done with college, is like grinding, trying to find where your opportunity is going to be. But also, you need to also make connections while you're in school. You need to network. with people, especially when you start getting into your field, your degree, right? Because when I started college, my first 2 years was just doing general electives. You know what I mean? But once I transitioned into my actual degree, I was able to find those like minded people that were doing the same thing that I'm doing. There are also professors there in the industry, right? That have connections in the industry. So you have to be able to make connections with those professors. So like that, maybe when opportunities arise, maybe you could find an internship and maybe something could grow from there.
Honestly, I disagree with you being lucky. I think that you definitely have to pave the way for yourself. Like the fact that you took the time to volunteer in NJCDC early on
Yeah.
was definitely what helped you get that opportunity. So
Well,
you
for sure.
definitely worked for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I mean, that's true. That is very true. Like I remember when I was applying to college, right? I was with Christina Tone, the director of the Neighborhood Help Center, and we were just sitting in the Burger King, like next to the NJCDC. We're like, all right, I need to figure out how many volunteering hours I have done over the past 4 years, so like that I could put it in my college application, right, to Montclair. And when we were done, it was literally like thousands of hours, like no joke. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Maybe I didn't give myself enough credit there, but
yes,
yeah,
definitely credit where it's due. Because I know when I started college, I think the hardest part for me was getting involved and realizing how important that was, because that's what builds your connections. Like
yeah.
that definitely helps you thrive and like get so many opportunities you just wouldn't get if you don't go out there.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a few things for our listeners, on our listeners' behalf. I'm sure your peers would like to know. So, like looking back, what do you wish you had known before you started college?
Something I wish I would have known before starting college was how important it was to get involved on campus. Like we were kind of
Yes.
talking about before. When you first get to college, like it's definitely so different from high school. No one is like behind you, like to do things, like to apply for extracurriculars, to go to clubs, and you have so much free time. And you definitely have to figure out what to do with that free time. And getting involved is kind of like the way to integrate to your campus, to get to know the people around you, and to get the best out of your college experience. And I think the first like full year of college, I was so like focused on just trying to get through it
Yeah.
and not like sinking in any way. And I was just kind of like nervous because it was a very different space. There were people that were different ages from me. And I think that that kind of pushed me away from getting involved. But like towards my last 2 semesters, when I did start getting involved, I saw like, wow, I really should have done this since the very first semester I was here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I definitely agree. Like when there are people who go to college that are just like, they're like, all right, I have class, go over there. They're kind of like ghosts. They go to class and the second as class ends, they're just gone.
Yeah.
But you have to you really, especially if you want to make those connections, you really have to get involved on campus. Like I was involved with the radio station at Montclair State, and I loved my experience there, and it was like super fun, and it definitely helped me kind of get it also helped, like another piece of the puzzle of who I am today, especially like when it comes to like my line of work in media and whatnot. So I definitely agree.
Mhm.
Be active on campus for
Yeah.
sure. So you were talking about how you had you were like just trying your best to not like sink and whatnot when you started, when you started off in college. What are some strategies that you use that helped you, keep you above water?
The biggest strategy that I kind of used to keep me up there was taking the time out to study. At first, I didn't. I guess I wasn't used to it because I've mentioned before, like high school classes they're not really that challenging. So
Yeah.
you'd kind of just do your work in school, get your homework done in school. That's it. That was about it. But for college, it was obviously very different. And I think that taking out that time to study was very important, whether it was going to the library at nighttime when everyone was away from me and I was alone, like just putting some background music on and just focusing on studying, using my resources on and off campus. They use PCC had like tutor.com, and like they tell you like, oh, make sure to use how many of our hours they gave you a semester. And I think using them was really important for me because at first I was like, I don't need tutoring. But when I got to those classes and I saw how hard they were, tutoring was definitely like something that kept me above water, like
Yeah.
just making sure to get those hours in. So that was definitely a good strategy. And again, like just taking the time to be away from others, unless you're someone that's like good at studying with a group. but I wasn't that person.
Yeah.
Like I really just had to be by myself and just take that time. Like, okay, let me write a list of everything I have to do and just checking stuff out every single time I do something.
Yeah, and especially like in my experience, there are definitely resources on campus that are designed to help you, in your classes and stuff. Like I know there was definitely some writing, tutoring sessions that were available to me and my classmates and my peers. And it's just a matter of looking for them and being willing to go out and receive them, So they're out there. You just need to find them. You need to actually, go and participate,
Yeah.
So I'm sure there were pretty stressful times during your college experience. So can you kind of tell me about such a time and how did you kind of handle it?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the most stressful times for me during the 2 years I was there were midterm and finals weeks. They were insane.
Okay.
Because you'd have like every single class would give you a paper or an exam, and you'd have to study for every single one. And I would have like 5 classes a semester. So it was a lot of tests, a lot of things to prepare for. And then there were the occasional 2 or 3 assignments you would leave for the last moment that were also during that week. Not a good idea.
No. Yeah, no.
At all. So like I would always be stressing. Like my mom would look at me and she's like, "You need to calm down." I'm like, "I can't."
Yeah, I don't have time to calm down, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But like I definitely like struggled a lot during midterms and finals. I think that the way I got through it was just kind of like I try to forget about everything and just think about the one thing, then try to get it done and then think about the rest. Sometimes that didn't work and I was just stressing out the entire time. But it was just kind of a lot of cramming. Not
Yo,
also
I'm sure.
yeah, also not a good way to study.
No. No.
But I'd get through it. I think that just like again having that support system of like I had peers that were going through the same thing. So like, okay, how are you doing for this class? Oh, you took this test before me. Like, what are some tips? Like, what are some things that you think I should focus on while I'm studying? Like, I think that really helped me, especially because like we were a cohort where we all had the same major. Like I had friends that they had a class a semester before me. So I'm like, okay, does he let you take notes and like bring them in for class?
Yeah.
Like I really had those tips that would really help me. And I think that helped me like get through it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this next semester again. I'm going to prepare beforehand.
Yeah.
I didn't end up doing it.
Yeah, there you go. That's just how it happens. That's
Yeah.
just how it happens. But okay, yeah, I mean, it just goes back into, making those connections, and building those friendships, building those relationships so like that you're able to rely on someone when, you really need someone,
Mm-hmm.
So if you can give advice, one piece of advice to someone, one of your peers who is starting college now, what would you say to them?
I feel like everything we've said up to par, like, is kind of a little repetitive, but it's because it's so important. I feel like one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give is to not be afraid to seek help. Like, I feel like in the beginning, many of us, especially if we're used to being like academically inclined, we're like, okay, I can do this, I can get through it on my own. But like everyone out there in college, like even the smartest people are going to need help at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that like just coming to level with that and just like accepting it and saying, okay, I'm here and I'm going to need the help is important. And like just realizing and mentally preparing yourself for that C you might get one time in your semester and like you're not going to die because of it.
Yeah.
Because like I was a straight A student in high school and I was freaking out with my first B. But it's something you have to get used to in college because classes are much more challenging and you're not like, maybe you can be like a straight A student, but it's much harder. Like it's so much harder. And just like mentally preparing yourself. And I guess another piece of advice that I would give is like to feel comfortable, and like the fact that you got accepted into school is like, you need to own that. Like a lot of people feel that imposter syndrome where you're like there and you're like, should I really be here? Like, am I going to make it through? And again, piggybacking off of everything we said, it's that support system, that is there to encourage you and tell you, yeah, I can get through this. I'm here because I earned my way here.
Yeah.
So I can get through it. So definitely getting comfortable with the space you're in and just making the most of it, right? We only got this college experience once, truly. Like, even if we come back later, it's just not the same as when you're like young and you have like no responsibilities, but focusing on your school. And I think that making sure you make the most out of it is really important.
100% for sure. Well, Elianny, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your experiences. I'm excited to see what you accomplish in the future.
Thank you, Danny, for having me.
Yeah, of course.